Hey, First Allen family, Pastor Mary Beth here. So I've been thinking a lot about anniversaries lately. Anniversaries are important because they help us to mark the passing of time, and they help us to reflect if we will take the time to do that, to look back over the previous year, to see how we've changed since the year ago, to see what's different and what's the same. I've been thinking about anniversaries because there's been a lot of talk about anniversaries in the media these days, particularly since the first of the year, as we have marked 1 year since, for instance, the end of February, February 29th, which is not in this year. That February 29th was the date of the first non-travel related COVID case in the U.S. On March the 4th, which is today, this is 1 year since the first COVID positive case in the state of Texas. And next week on March 11th will be the 1 year anniversary since the World Health Organization designated COVID as a worldwide pandemic. In response to all of these anniversaries and this being the year since, one news organization has invited its followers to answer this question: where were you when the pandemic became real for you? Now, the answers have been interesting and varied. I saw that some people named when Tom Hanks announced that he had tested positive for COVID. I saw a number of people named when the NCAA canceled March Madness. Lots of people talked about when they began working from home. For me, I can tell exactly where I was when it became real for me. It was spring break, Thursday, March the 12th. My family was in Tulsa for spring break, and we were at dinner in a restaurant when I got the news that Bishop Mike McKee had directed all of the churches of the North Texas Conference of the United Methodist Church to not meet in person for worship on the following Sunday and the Sunday after that. And he said, I remember very clearly, he said, we think we'll be back in our services, in our buildings, by the time we come together for Easter. So it was 3 days later on Sunday, March the 15th, after amazing creative work by a number of people, that we live streamed our worship service to Facebook and YouTube for the first time. And life and church have never been the same. That's when the pandemic became real for me. But I also think back over this year, and I can see so many ways that God has worked and moved and done things in the midst of this pandemic. The most obvious one to me is the way God has worked through, of all things, technology to enable us to be the church, to enable so many of us to be connected in the midst of all of this. We've been able not only to worship together, but to study together and to pray together, to make music together. We've been able to celebrate together, sometimes even eat together. We've been able to laugh together and dream and brainstorm and make decisions together. We've been able to celebrate birthdays and anniversaries through technology. God has worked through technology in amazing and mighty ways. We all have stories to tell about this past year, and we want to hear your stories. We want to hear where you were, what was happening when the pandemic became real to you. But we also want to hear from you what you've seen God do in the midst of the pandemic. We want to gather up your stories, and we're going to do that in a variety of ways. We have a survey that we've created that you can click on that. It's in this email. It's in this Facebook post with those two questions. When did the pandemic become real to you? And what have you seen God do in the midst of the pandemic? But we'd also like to hear your stories on video. And so this Sunday, the March the 7th, and next Sunday, March the 14th, there will be opportunity, if you happen to be in person in worship, for you to go to a particular place in our building, and we'll have someone there with a phone and allow you to on video answer those questions. Now, if you're not someone who's coming in person, but you'd still like to be included in the video answers to those questions, you can do that on your phone, and we have a Dropbox account. Let us know that you have a video you want to share, and we'll send you the link to that Dropbox account. We're going to compile all of those answers, and in worship on Sunday, March the 21st, in recognition of that 1 year anniversary, we're going to share those, and we're going to mark this important anniversary in our lives and in the life of our church. There is good news in this, that we can celebrate and share as we move into the future together. I'm praying for you. I hope you're praying for me. Shalom.